Hello, everybody. So I've got some wonderful news. I was talking with my father the other day, and he commented on my son's curly hair, and he was like, "Oh, you get the curly hair. You get the family trait that doesn't appear quite as often anymore." I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He was like, "Well, my great grandfather's black." I'm like, "Excuse me?" It's like, "Yeah, it's where every once in a while you get the little white afro in our family, and apparently that's because I am 1/16th black. So hooray for me and Wakanda forever. Um, so today we're just going to be talking about, I guess, I don't know, my heritage. I don't know if you want to call it that. So basically, my mom is white as can be, like like the level of whiteness. She likes reading When Calls the Heart. So I guess that is the level. So we're talking like Full House white. We're talking like John Stamos white. We're we're talking, if you go back 4 generations, my grandfather had a plantation, and not the kind where we paid workers to work on there. So yeah. So that maybe both generations, maybe both sides of my family met at one point. So yeah, my mom's family, they're actually Hatfields, like Hatfields and McCoys. So I'm actually just kind of blessed that my grandparents were not siblings. Because you know how the South goes. So yeah, on dad's side, we actually have our native status. And so growing up, I was always told, and this is kind of silly, but I was always told, like, we watched Pocahontas, and I remember my dad saying, he's like, "You're related to those people." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like Pilgrim Rock, the first Thanksgiving, all that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm native and I'm black, so it's a little wild. Growing up, I remember about 20 years ago, we decided to go on a little trip down to Massachusetts, and we went down there to go to powwow. Basically, it was like a week's we went there on, like, 4th of July weekend, and, it was, kinda interesting. You went down there, it was boiling hot, like, we live in Nova Scotia, and we're not used to the heat. We go down to New England, and it's, I mean, roasting you alive. It was, like, 40 degrees or over 100 degrees, whatever you wanna call it. So, yeah, we went to, Cape Island or Cape Cod, not Cape Island, and we also went to Martha's Vineyard. If you don't know what Martha's Vineyard is, watch Jaws, that little Cape town with all the tourists. That's literally where they filmed Jaws. So we went down there. um, there's like 2 groups of us, and we went down there, and we went to a powwow. Now the powwow itself, it was like we had like this big field rented out or booked out or whatever, something like that. And it was kind of like there was a bunch of vendors there. So like all the whole group of natives, they all had their own vendors, like selling art. Like it was open to the public, so anybody could go there. And I remember they gave me some like quahog shell necklaces, things like that. And yeah. And if you haven't been to a powwow before, like they do all the same stuff that you would see on TV, like the drums and the dancing and the singing and all of that. But they had some really cool stuff where they called it Fireball. I mean, we weren't allowed to take any pictures of it or take videos of it. Maybe I'm not even supposed to be talking about it. I don't know. But what they did is they took chicken wire, like not chicken wire, but like chicken string. Yeah, like when you get a frozen turkey or whatever, there's like this mesh that's wrapped around it. So they took that and they wrapped it all up as tight as they could. Like it was one, kind of like what you do with an elastic band, and they soaked it in kerosene for a whole year. And what they did at the end of it, we lit it on fire and we essentially played soccer with it. And don't think it was the smartest thing to do because a lot of them burnt their hands and their feet, but it was just something really cool that we did. And another thing that we did, if you don't like the smell, speaking of turkeys, if you don't like the smell of turkeys, stay away from powwow, because if you've never been smudged before, that's kind of like the thing that they do to kind of like anoint people. That they light a sage and they kind of blow the smoke around you. That's kind of what we do. So yeah, that's what we did. And then I went to a powwow. Then like I didn't go for a powwow again for like another 12 years. Um, because I didn't really like going. I don't like traveling to the States. We had another powwow, and uh this was in oh, what do you call it? Rhode Island. And that's where we have our actual native status or pretend native status. I don't even know. Um we had a big potluck there, and 90% of the potluck, people just went out and they bought KFC. So the 1/16th black person in me was very, very happy about that. So I guess me being 8% black, that explains my love for chicken tenders and booty. I guess that's a good way of putting it. And another thing, you always get these people on the internet, they're saying, Native Americans don't celebrate Thanksgiving. They don't celebrate Thanksgiving. How dare you say that the natives celebrate Thanksgiving? They do. They don't always do it in October or November like Canada or the States. Sometimes they have their own Thanksgiving. Like literally, we had a summer Thanksgiving. We called it Strawberry Thanksgiving, and that's what we did in the summer. Now, when I went back home, like I mean, look at my skin. Do I look Native American to you? I mean, have you ever seen a Native American with a beard? No, because they're Apache. So I remember going to work one day and someone got really offended that I used the word Indian. And I was like, I just went to a powwow and they had like, everybody had like license plates saying Indian and proud. Like, I mean, I mean, we all know there's two kinds of Indians. There's the 7-Eleven Indian and there's the casino Indian. So I am well, I'm like, my dad says that Grampy was 95% native. So I guess that makes me, I don't know, a quarter native, despite being white. So quarter native means you can make the jokes. I can make the jokes. You can't cancel me for saying native jokes because I'm in it. Um, I'm a little too white to drop the hard R's. I wouldn't want to do that because I don't want to get stabbed by a middle-aged white lady that gets offended over it. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So, anyways, there was another lady. I told her that I had my native status. She didn't believe me. She told HR, and so I had to pull up my status card. I showed the office and they stopped it. My uncle, he was questioned on his native status and he told him like, you got to stop it. So they were actually legitimately forced to apologize, like corporate, because he worked for like the international airport and they literally had to write a formal letter of apology to do it. So yeah, it's like it was pretty wild. Now I do have some of my ancestors on dad's side. Apparently, I don't know if it's true or not. Could just be bogus, but my apparently, if you go back like 5 or 6 generations, some of my family was sold off as slaves, and I don't mean like plantation slaves. I mean they had the natives were shipped off to what you call Quaker schools, which is like you look at Quaker Oats, that guy with the little fancy hat and the powdered wig. That's those Quakers. We got sent off to Quaker schools, and some of my family actually got sent off to Cuba as slaves. So I've got the out there somewhere, I do have some oppressed relatives that lived under Castro, and at least it's warm there, I guess. So that's how that went. Again, I've already talked about my teacher being offended that she gave us a project on the Indian bobsled, and we talked about that. There was a lot of I might talk about, although I don't know if I want to talk about my current job. I was gonna say I might talk about how my work reacted to my native status and how some workers were like that. But one of the weirdest, like I said, about middle-aged white women getting all offended, you also have the opposite where they get overly compassionate for no reason. I remember saying something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, my grampy was native." I think you go back a couple generations before that, they went to residential schools or something like that. They didn't really want to talk about it, and I had some white Karen come up to me and say how sorry she was that my family has been treated all this time. I'm like, girl, you realize I didn't have to be put on a waiting list to get in the school. I put my name in, bumped to the top of the waiting list. So thanks to white guilt, I get in the school much easier. I've actually gotten into school way easier than I should have just because of my native status. So to say that we're still oppressed, that's kind of baloney. I mean, I do feel bad about the people that live on horrible reservations. Like, so my former job working as a plumber, we had to go to a native reserve, and they're not all bad, but you will get some native reserves that are run by like native chiefs that don't care at all about their people. We went to one site. A little old lady didn't have running water, and like middle of February, freezing cold, our pipes burst. The plumbing company said, "All right, we got all our stuff." And the band council, the whatever you want to call it, they denied our didn't give any reason, but you live on the reserve. You can't just fix something. You have to go through all these channels, kind of like living in a horrible HOA, but with broken windows instead of people that care if your garage is painted the wrong color. So, living on a horrible reserve is much worse than living on a horrible HOA, whatever you call it. HOA, what do you call it? Like, yeah, homeowners association. So yeah, yeah, and trying to think of what else I could mention about it. I remember one time in school, I said something about my great grandparents were native or something like that, and like one girl, she looks back at me dead in the eyes, like, "You better pay your better pay your taxes." I was like, "What do you mean, better pay my taxes?" Like, I don't like it when you guys come into my store and bug me not to pay taxes. I'm like, "Girl, I pay taxes." She's like, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Yes, I do." So, yeah, basically, the enemies of the native are the middle-aged white Karen. That's it. Stay black.